often you can get a new perspective. Just go to the different balcony within whatever organization you're in and look down and see things, because I remember that in many times that I've been around. And I came from a family company at Molex and another family company where I am now. And the family company at Molex had a lot of homegrown, like the only job, literally to this day, a lot of them, the only job they ever had. Yeah. But then they did start to bring in some outside people, and they got new viewpoints, and they brought in different views. And the company I'm in now is more still in that family mode, but I'm one of the few outside ones, and they have some others. So I think that you blossom and you go from there. So I totally agree with that one.
Are you ready to elevate your leadership skills in the electronics manufacturing industry? Join Sannah Vinding on a transformative journey as she unlocks the key to exceptional leadership in this dynamic field. Discover invaluable strategies, emerging trends, and best practices through expert perspectives and insightful interviews. This podcast is your ultimate resource for gaining a competitive edge, staying ahead of the curve, and shaping the future. Tune in now and unlock the secrets to leadership success in the world of electronics manufacturing.
Welcome to Mind Innovation Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Sannah Vinding, and I'm so excited you tuned in today. I want to introduce today's guest, Hugh Daly. He is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at MedConnect USA. He's responsible for managing U.S. operations, including sales, customer service, HR, finance, and marketing. Prior to his current position, Hugh spent 21 years at Molex, a leading electronic components manufacturer. Welcome, Hugh. I'm excited about today because with all your experience, about leading and skill set, I'm so excited about our conversation.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and I really appreciate it. Looking forward to having a nice chat today, but it's really a great opportunity. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I always love to start, talking about passion, because we all have our different passion to give us the energy. So can you tell me more about your passion for the electronics industry?
Oh, sure. I started in the electronics industry before I knew I started in it, because my father was actually in the electronics in the 1970s, which ages me a bit. But when semiconductors and diodes were just beginning. And my role in that was really pretty nominal, of stamping catalogs and doing different things. But long story short, I end up in the business because of just seeing success with my father and getting into it. And so my father was a VP of sales at one point, and then he opened a manufacturer's rep operation. So
nice.
Near and dear to my heart in the current world. And he was a wonderful mentor. Unfortunately, he passed away at way too early age, 30 years ago. But he really did guide my career. And I give great thanks all the time that some of my communication and some of my writing skills and others were a direct result of his mentorship.
Nice. I like that. And then can you tell me more about your career? Because you went 21 years at Molex, and now you have 8 years at your current position.
Yes. So go back to the early start. I stayed 9 years in the rep business with my father, and I gained some success. And so the passion really did begin at that point, because I had some success. I won a contest here and there, and I had another mentor that's very close that I communicate with now, and he just retired from connector industry. But we're in the connector industry, and as well as passives such as diodes and resistors and other things. But I really liked the connectors. They were physical, they were touchy-feely, and I got with customers, and I really enjoyed the interaction with the customers. And so, I'm a finance major in college, but yet here I am out selling things and enjoyed it. I really had a great time. I remember so closely the people that I deal with over all the years, and a lot of them rise up. It's like, oh, okay, and you run into them later. So I did the same when I was at Molex. I was given different levels of responsibility. I started just as a field salesperson in little old Oklahoma, where I was, and then I got promoted and got a job managing globally for the IBM account at Molex, which was our largest account. So, when people give you the opportunity to, and I'll talk about this throughout my life, really, that they give you the opportunity to go spread your wings a little bit. I mean, that built the passion in you, because it's like, hey, they trust me to do this. So that's kind of where it went. And I had different roles, and then I was in sales management for the most of the time, the second half of that career, and really enjoying it. And this role has been wonderful as well, because I move on to having operations and sales and a lot of people interaction. So,
So let's talk about the leadership, right? Again, or you're saying like spreading your wings and somebody's trusting you. So how do you take that onto your umbrella of skill set of teaching others to do this, or actually to push them to this, or to actually to mentoring them to spread their wings?
Right. The leadership part came about from that because one is you build confidence, right? You're out there and you're doing things. And first off, if you're expecting as a leader to have future leaders in your organization, you have to have confidence. You have to let them spread their wings. You have to, but at the same time, you have to coach them. And I think you have to have an ability to interact with people in a way that you direct things where it's important, but you let them kind of do their thing. You let them do it their way, what it needs to be, because they're not going to want to just follow your path the way it was, because that may or may not be their way, especially in today's world. Yeah. So I think the one thing that I'd say about leadership is to come in, and it really helps if you've walked in the shoes of the people or close to it. In other words, if you come in with no outside experience, and I think your challenges are a lot greater than if you've actually walked in those shoes and done that. And you got to know the business, right? You have to really know what it is, but yet you have to be open and flexible and understand that people have different ways to get to the same path.
Yeah. I think it's great to get somebody outside an industry to get them into the organization, because you get some other views. But you also want somebody who knows the industry, right? It's that balance game. But it's so healthy to get both if you can at a certain point, right? You can't just get one within the industry, of course, that comes from the totally outside. But it's good to have somebody looking with fresh eyes and saying, I want to do it this way instead, or challenge, or just ask questions. I think that's how an organization can grow really, really well.
Yes, I read something years and years ago that was saying that often you can get a new perspective. Just go to the different balcony within whatever organization you're in and look down and see things, because I remembered that in many times that I've been around. And I came from a family company at Molex and another family company where I am now. And the family company at Molex had a lot of homegrown, like the only job, literally to this day, a lot of them, the only job they ever had. Yeah. But then they did start to bring in some outside people, and they got new viewpoints, and they brought in different views. And the company I'm in now is more still in that family mode, but I'm one of the few outside ones, and they have some others. So I think that you blossom and you go from there. So I totally agree with that one.
Yeah, I like the balcony. I'm going to use that one. That's really good, right? Because there's so much going on. Okay, let's talk about a little bit more about the leadership. So what kind of skill set, or what's important to have to be an amazing leader, in the electronic industry at the moment?
With all of it, it starts from a leadership standpoint. Communication is at the heart of it. I came into this role and others where accountability, communication, and teamwork are kind of the tenets that I have. But communication overall, in today's world, I think you have to be flexible and able to have open communication, but you also have to be a very good listener. It gets to that old saying that's always out there: you got 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that as a leader, you better be listening to your people and understand that they have something to say, and you have to take the time. And then you don't have to agree with everything that's said, but you have to listen, and then you have to have conversation. And sometimes you roll up your sleeves a little bit and you kind of get into it. But in the end, you're respecting that person. And so I think the skill set from a leader standpoint is to be open, to be communicative, to be empathetic when needed, but not the piece of cake to roll over. But you have to understand that there are different views to things and the way you go about it. So those are kind of some of the top level things that I think about.
What about as a leader, right? I think it's important, but so it's not a leading question. I want to ask you about this. So I think it's important as well as a leader to show that when you fail, or if something didn't work out as you thought, actually to share that, to say, hey, it didn't work, but be honest about it. And then, of course, quickly come back and saying, this is the plan, how we're bouncing back, or this is how we're, the correction, or how we're going to pivot. So what's your view on that?
That's a great point, Sannah, and I think it's so true that perfection is a great thing to strive for, but it's just not there. And as you go through, you're going to step in mines and mud puddles and other things. But to acknowledge that, right? To be able to say, this one didn't go right, or I see that all the time with things. I mean, literally, And I admitted to others in the hiring process that make mistakes all along. And everybody, and I talk to people, I'm talking to people around, and like, you get a few bad choices and whatever else, but you know what? You learn from those. You look, you evaluate it, and maybe it's not in the hiring, but in decisions made. Even decisions around customers and different things. Okay, maybe we blew that one, but can we go back in? Can we salvage it? Can we do something else? Can we acknowledge that, okay, we made a mistake. We didn't respond to you the way we needed, but you get a lot more kudos for, in fact, I would say every opportunity that you miss, that if you mess something up, let's say we ship a horrible product and then we go in and we make good for it, you kind of raise your status in that, even though you did have the problem versus somebody that didn't. So very good point there.
Yeah. So even if you use the word screw up, but if you are good at fixing it, right, and getting back on track, that customer, maybe they were not happy in the beginning, but it will give them a really good feeling after, saying, yes, it actually got fixed, and now I trust, because based on back to that communication, right?
Yes.
It actually builds to it. So it's not like we're saying right here, oh, you should screw up so you can build the trust. Don't do that. But there's like a second win if you, of course, fix your error or your mistake, if you fix it in a proper way and quick way.
That's right. And the opportunity is there. And the other part of it is, and being customer facing as much as I am in all the roles I've had, you get the chance to be kind of behind the curtain a little bit when that happens. So all of a sudden you're going there and you're on the plant floor and you're looking at where the problem was, and you're meeting people and you're talking to people and you're learning views that you wouldn't have when you're in your sales mode or you're something else. And all of a sudden you find out that the problem may not be even just limited to where you are, but it's a use issue or something else. So you truly get that opportunity. And if you do it right, then it comes around. And I think, more times than not, you have that opportunity.
Yeah. No, definitely. And never make the same mistake twice, right? What about motivation? Because again, you can hire great people into your team. How do you keep that motivation up of striving, being better, right, and being a better person, being a better leader, or being a better team person, or a better team colleague? Right.
Now, that's a tough one sometimes, because one way you think initially it's like, oh, just keep raising the bar, but that doesn't work. I mean, all of a sudden they're like, nothing I do is good enough, right? You don't have that. So you have to have milestones in things. And I think the motivation side of it can be to, again, listen to your people and to give them new challenges and let them conquer that, but kind of take it. You have to look at it in terms of what can they take on. Yeah. And if you put too much weight on somebody early on, then you're setting them up for failure. Maybe they get through it, maybe they don't. But if you really want them to be around and to grow, giving them new levels of responsibility, giving them that next step, that motivates them. Yeah. I have a new employee that's in an inside sales role, and I'm starting to see that where he's blossoming and things. And so I'm giving him little bits here and there. And he came to me so excited, literally just yesterday. And he found, we have a SharePoint site that's new to us. And he just found, hey, we could do this, we can do that. And he went to talk to marketing, he went to talk to others. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to stifle this at all. Let's see what we can do with it.
Keep going. Yeah.
It might be. I mean, you can do that. And that's well beyond anything that I'm all excited about that right now. But I'm not going to tell him that. It's like, let's go. Yeah. Let's go, come up with what it is and find a use for it. So the other thing that I've found is you have to be a little careful, Sannah, in how you perceive things. So talking about making mistakes and things. So sometimes, like, you want to just tell them how it is. Like, well, we're good at this and we're not good at that, and leave it at that. It's like, well, maybe we have a different way to approach it or something. So in my company, we're not good elephant hunters. We're better with the small, medium business, because we're a small, medium business. And if it's 1 million pieces, maybe that's not really something we're going to do well. But I got to phrase it a little differently. Like, okay, we're not limiting you. We're just going to tell you where to spend your time, and let's see where we go with it. And then when you come with the opportunity, let's evaluate it and see what we can do. Yeah,
I like that. What about learning? Because again, as a leader, right, you need to be sure that you're learning as well, because you cannot just stay still, right? Oh. So how do you get that learning or inspiration within the industry?
Now you're really kicking into the passions that I have, because I truly do. I mean, speaking in terms of places that we see each other frequently, but the ECIA, the ERA, the different forums, EDS, they all have great forums for learning things, but you cannot stop learning because things are changing and you're getting different viewpoints. And I'm participating in part of the planning for the STEP program for training within the ERA and the virtual trainings. And yet, even that, it's things that are out there. So 15 years ago, I guess it was, started a monthly call with my reps and regional managers, and it was at the other company as well as where I am now. I brought it over, so it was actually easy. It was a Molex Monday. Now it's a Mets Monday that we do it, and this is a chance to share exactly that. So I have to prepare for it. I'm the host of that one, and it's a 20-minute deal. But I come up with things, and I present numbers and the basic boring stuff. But then I pull up articles. I go to different websites that I mentioned. I even go to one that I was on a similar panel recently and talking with some people, and Paula Renfro from TTI, dropping a name there. And I said, I go to your site because it's got great tools there. And they've got all these people that put all this information, Michael Knight and others. And it's there for the public. They're not even one of my distributors, but it's great industry information and to learn and to get that. And then the networking and talking with people. So you go out and you say, well, how are lead times doing? How's pricing? What about this? I'll tell you what, the tariff, I'm rambling here a little bit. The tariff, when that came up, what a great tool to talk to other people in the industry and say, how are you dealing with this thing? What are we doing? How's this going to go? So I'm constantly learning and trying to find new ways. So I'm an open book on that. And I also have an active list of people say, oh, this is a great book to learn this or that. I jot them down.
That's good. Yeah. And it's so important to stay curious, right? And keep learning and the listening, especially within your network as well. So that's good. I like that you really share that as well and actually share that passion or give that out further, right, within your organization.
Well, you can propagate that out with so many people and then try to build that. So when I have other people are like, oh, maybe you get this. And if they just get a tidbit out of it, then that's well worth it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And sometimes you can't have it's the same, right? If you go to a conference, there's so many things going on. You get so many ideas and everything else. And I'm always like, just, implement one of them.
Right.
And when you come back, if it's to change a habit or to do something new,
it's so true.
Yeah, because you get back into all the emails, right, and the meetings you have and stuff like that.
Right.
What about the younger talent? I think we need to talk about that, right? Because the whole industry, I think we've been talking about that over the last couple of years. The whole industry is getting older, and we need some. It'll be great, and we need some younger talent.
No, it's very true, and it's definitely a challenge. And one is finding the people and getting them excited about the industry, and some come up from within it. And we do see a lot of them that their parents have been in it or somebody else, and so they're like, okay, I'll give that a try. But you have some of the young folks that are being successful, and we hope that they're helping to plant some seeds around with other people they know and things. But I think the magnet for a lot of that has got to be some of the same things we've talked about a little bit. But I've again recently read that you can look and say, as you're hiring people, that I need a resume that has, this education and this experience, and you may or may not find it. So let's say they're outside the industry, but what are their skills? Skill-based determinations can be good. And I don't care what their previous job was in what industry, but what are the skills you really need? You got to evaluate your job situation. Yeah. Now, I'm a believer that says that, be it a terminal block where we sell or a widget or whatever it is, if you're a good salesperson, you can probably sell a lot of things. Yeah. It's just whether you get excited about selling that if you were selling something that's higher up the food chain maybe. But so if sales is a skill, then that's one. You check that box. But what about the other things? You need to be evaluative. You need to be a good communicator, of course. You got to have probably good analytical skills. You have to be able to make good judgments. You have to be able to speak professionally in front of people so that you don't embarrass yourself and the customer when you're out talking to them. Those are skills that sometimes those come through in the interview, and other times you have to dig a little deeper for them. Yeah. And I'm starting to embark on that. I can't say that I've figured it all out yet, but I think with the young people, we've got to have something that shows that we're flexible, that we are molding, that we're not just looking for the same old person, same young person that we have existing, that we're adaptable, and that we can can value the inputs that they have, so that when they come to the table, that was something different, that we're like, hey, that's a good idea. Let's give that a try. I think that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, and the industry changes as well, right? And I think it runs faster and faster. So you need new talent as well that can keep up with this speed, but also be really good of adding value into what can change, or if it's like a process, right, or if it's a way we go out and communicate with customers. So it's always a two-way street.
Sure. And let's look at what's just happened in the last 3-4 years with COVID, that the sales process in particular has changed appreciably, because we're not making 5 sales calls a day for 4 or 5 days a week anymore, because people aren't in the office. So you're going about it differently.
Yeah.
And it's a development of things. Now, we actually promoted recently on that call that I was talking about, that one of my regionals was out making sales calls, and they actually got 5 calls in a day. And that's pretty rare right now, to get that, to be able to travel around and find 5 people. And one of them was at a coffee shop, but that's good enough. You're face to face, because that's important. But we also learned that you can sell without being face to face, but you have to use different tools. And we have a lot of those tools with electronics, and with being able to send things over the internet and all that, and these type of face to face Zoom or Teams calls. But I think the younger talent is more comfortable in those realms than the older talent, although we're all getting more used to it. Or I'm, from my perspective.
Hey, I'm not, if I'm getting a phone call and I don't recognize the number, I'm not answering. If I'm not expecting a call, I'm not answering. And sometimes I feel a little bit bad, but then I also, if I do pick up the phone, I will do it. It's like, I can just hear in the first seconds that, this is a sales call for something. And I'm like,
exactly,
take me off your list, right? If it's anything.
Right. But let me ask you this, Sanning. Do you ever have a call like that, and then or an email, and it gets your attention, and you're like, you know what? I admire your persistence, or your this. Instead of being annoyed, it's like, I'm going to reward you with this because you did a very professional job of doing that. And I have done that a few times, even if I buy your product.
I think I've had, but not that I rewarded it and bought something, right?
No.
It's more, I think it's more bringing the value, right? I think on LinkedIn as well, there's a lot of marketing companies or agency, right? That's reaching out, and then I'm like, do not sell anything to me. Right? No, that's not it. I'm here to learn. I want to have a great network. And so it's about sharing your knowledge. Then I'm totally fine with that.
Right. No, I totally agree on that one. So that's true.
It's how you can help, right? And improve, I'm sure with your customers, right? It's how you can improve them to build a much better product. Right. If you can be part of that, then you will shine as well, and that engineer will shine.
Right. It makes both of us look good in the end.
Yeah. So if somebody new is starting, in the industry, and I know like there's thousands of things, right? Just as we talked about, that they could do or must do. But if you just had to pick like maybe two skill sets or 2 things, what should they concentrate on first?
Well, that narrows it down quite a bit with things.
Yeah.
But, if you're new to the industry and coming in, you've got to just absorb. So you've got to just dive in and learn. Yeah. So you need to go into things and learn your product, but also the industry, and the sites I mentioned are a great resource for that. But you've got to become valuable as soon as you can. And you're not valuable until you know your business and know the industry. So there's just so many resources at your disposal, and any good company or manager is going to be handing them those things. But they have to take it seriously. I mean, I tell people that come in, interview or otherwise, look at our website. I mean, just the website alone tells you a lot about a company. But then the products, and now look at our customers' website. Now look at some of the other areas that we excel in. So you have to learn. You have to fill your coffers with information that will help you. Now, what do you do with all that? That's the next step, that you've now got to have a plan, right? For what are you going to do and how you're doing it. And hopefully your mentor, your coach, or your boss is guiding you a little bit. But the single most important is to be inquisitive and to be curious, as you mentioned before. And to spend the time up front to learn what's going on and what the industry is about, what makes it tick, where's the pulse, and then to become valuable in that, then you go deeper and deeper with that. And then it's back to the basics of what I said: the communication, the professionalism, presenting it and doing those things. But then they're ready to do that, and can they handle the technical nature of this and that? I have an interesting side story of a recent hire that was a failure but luckily within like 10 days, because they were all gung-ho, we're doing this, and they were diving in and gave them all the resources, and they seemed to go through the motions pretty well. And then I got on the first sales call, and we went out together with the rep and customer, and we got in a couple doors, and they were talking, the engineers were talking, and this person, the new hire, didn't have to be responding, they were just present, and they were observing, but this was their chance to see what it's about, but already hired, by the way. And we get into it, and then the engineer was a seasoned engineer and talking, and we were answering questions, and it was a good sales call, very good. But I was doing the leading, and then we got out of that, and then he was pretty quiet. And then the next day, shows up in the office and says, "Yeah, I just can't do this. This is too technical for me. I didn't understand anything going on there, and I'm not willing to try." So you know what? The good news was it was quick.
Better be honest, right?
Right. And then he was honest with me, and honest, and he could have milked it that, but it's just, it wasn't there, and he couldn't accept it. So be it.
Be it. No. That's, I think it's important to be honest about it. But a good way to learn as well, right? To get out there and do the observation, as you said, and see what it's all about.
Oh, no question. Getting out into the customer field and doing it. We have an intern that's in from Germany that's never been on sales, but he's here just for a couple of weeks. Yeah. And I'm going to do the same. We're going to go out and customers. Yeah. He's not going to have to say anything or do anything. He's just going to observe. Yeah. And he'd find as an intern that, that's not for me. I want to do something else. But better to find out now than later.
yeah, for everyone. Right. So that takes me to my last question, to say, if you have to look like 10 years back, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, that's a tough question,
it
Sannah. That's the hard ball right there. So I think that the one thing that comes to mind for that is to be humble. The humility of the people you run into, the people that you're going to come across, and related to the leadership as well as the new hires, that you need to have the humility to say, as we kind of brought across earlier, that, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll work to get that answer. Or I don't know how to solve that problem, but let's roll our sleeves up and do that together. Yeah. Because I think that earlier in my career, certainly 10, 15, certainly 20 years ago, but even 10 years ago, I kind of had been around long enough. I kind of thought I knew most everything. And then it's like, no, don't know that. And we got to go figure it out. So I think humility would be front and center with the one quality that, and I'm a humble person in most ways, but at the same time, in that area, I might have thought, oh no, this is how we did it. And then it's like, no, maybe we need to do it a different way or look at it differently, because there are many, many paths to the same end. Yeah. So I'd probably go with that one. Beyond that, I think the advice that I have taken and give to anybody is to be present and to be flexible in today's world, especially, and to continue to communicate and listen well to everybody. Yeah.
And I like everything you said there. I think also it sounds easy, right? Oh, just, improve your communication and, listen. But a reminder, not that it should be every day, but that little reminder, it's good that you can improve how do you listen? Do you take notes, right? Do you write the minutes? Do you, how do you come back or reflect on it? So it's for me, especially as well, it's the getting that reminder a couple of times a year is good, because it slows down a little bit, and then saying, okay, maybe I can change the way I'm listening or the way I'm actually answering. And sometimes being quiet is good, right? You don't have to talk all the time.
Right. No, and that the pregnant pauses in some conversations are the best, because you got to wait for them to come up with something. But no, I think that opportunity out there to be a good listener, an active listener, and you mentioned the note taking. I'm like the epitome of note taking. But I do look back. It's like, okay, I documented this right then and there, and I at least know what they said. So that's good.
That's good.
Yeah. So no secret sauce, but it's all little pieces.
It's good. Yeah, no, and we can only improve, just a few percent every day, right? That will take us there.
That'd be good.
It's all about the journey.
Yeah, exactly. And have fun. And you got to have fun while you do it. Work hard, play hard. That's the message.
Yeah, you have to have fun. Come on. It's one life. Come on. If any of the listener wants to reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
I'd love it. If anybody has questions or wants to continue any conversation, you can reach me at hugh.daly, hugh.daly at mets-connect.com.
Perfect. And I will put it in the show notes, and I will also put it on the episode page on mindinnovation.com, so it's easy to find.
Excellent.
So thank you so much. I really loved your, when you said about going on different balconies and looking out. I really like that one. I also saw one on LinkedIn, and it was just because I love like when it's illustrations or if it's a video. And I think actually I shared that one. Somebody showed a kid on skating. And there was an adult or just a trainer, right, helping the little kid to get up on speed. And then when the kid had to go up and perform, that little jump or whatever it was, the kid was by himself and actually performed. And I think just the analogy there of showing, how you as a leader, right, you are helping. He was holding hand, and then he was just helping with the speed, but the kid did everything himself. Of course, I'm sure they trained a lot. It's not yet, but I just love that. So when you said with the balcony as well, to look all over, in different ways, but also how a leader can support anybody, within the team. It's just, you really have to, you have to let people fly, right, at a certain time.
That's a great message. I love that, especially now after our conversation. So yeah, something visual that sticks with you. But thank you so very much. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope people can get a couple tidbits out of this one, but I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event, which is right around the corner, I think.
It is, yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
If you like Mind Innovation, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show wherever you get your podcast. You can follow Sannah Vinding and Mind Innovation on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And make sure to check out mindinnovation.com. Stay curious and keep learning. See you next time.